Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We review anything and everything. And today we are getting into this comparison video from EasySMX X05 Pro, or just the X5 Pro. You don't have to say the zero in it. That's obvious. And it's for PC, Switch, iOS, and Android. And then here we have the Gamesir Nova 2 Lite. And this, it says, it's small here in the corner, but it says for PC, Switch, Steam, ISO, and Android as well. So these controllers are pretty much for your phone, your tablet, and your PC. And though you could use them for a Switch, I would say most of the people who's probably buying these is probably more so for those other consoles or gaming experiences that I just mentioned, PC and on your phone or tablet. Now, I already reviewed and unboxed this one, but I placed it back into the box because most people just end up telling others, go check out the video I already did and the review I already did on that. Just to save you guys the hassle of having to go back to that video, watch it, see the whole breakdown of things, as well as the review, and then me reviewing this for the first time, I just figured let me do them both in the same place so that way you guys can see this. So this is the first review of the X5 Pro, and this is going to be, I guess you could say, a re-review of the Nova 2 Lite. Now, recently I did some videos where I showed you guys I was just getting into the space of gaming on a PC. I have been out of the gaming world for like 13, 14 years, something very long. My only system that I had that was left, that was most current, was the Xbox 360, which obviously you guys know is a dinosaur at this point. And so I wanted to get back into gaming. I did a video review on that of me purchasing a mini PC, and I did the whole breakdown on it and everything. So you could check that out also as well on the channel. But I say that to say, coming back into this space, I was looking for a controller that I could use on my PC. My Xbox controllers work, but I also didn't want to wear them out because those controllers, I really want them to stay good for as long as possible with my Xbox 360, because at some point down the line, even though some controllers may work for them nowadays, may not, there may not be current options as time goes on for that. So I want to preserve those if I can. I know that thinking might seem a little weird, but that's what I was thinking. So I was like, let me get something modern but affordable, because I don't need it to all the bells and whistles, but still good. I watched a couple of reviews, did a lot of research, and I came across a lot of controllers that are really good. But as you go to the budget area, you kind of see for what I needed, which is not a lot of bells and whistles because of where I'm coming from. Basic Xbox 360 controller. I didn't need all the high-end bells and whistles. So at that point, this price range of maybe $30 or so really gave me everything I needed. So at that point, after looking at all the reviews, I came upon these two as kind of the top. The only other one that I would say kind of competes with these is the 8BitDo Ultimate 2, if I'm not mistaken, Ultimate 2C, I believe it's called. But the only negative that I've seen a lot of people talk about on that was that the shape of the controller is not your typical Xbox type of controller or Xbox 360 controller that I'm used to. And so that right away was a turnoff to me, because that's all I've known since that time. I've never got used to anything else. So I wanted to stay within that. And these two right here were the only ones that had that same feel while within this budget range. Now, the timing of the recording of this video, the Nova is $27. It's like 26 and some change. And the X5 Pro is pretty much the same price, $27 or 26 some change, whatever the case is. So the regular price on these seems to be $30 on Amazon. I'm gonna have a link in the description down below for both of them. Sorry for the rant, but I wanted you guys to have a bit of context of what's going on. In addition, the last thing I'm gonna say before I jump into everything is, this is coming from a review of someone who's not really a gamer, but somebody who's looking for just a real experience in terms of how things feel, something that you go off that feeling like you did back in the days, and not so much on the technical aspects of, TMR sticks, Hall effect sticks, all these kind of things that what do they mean, you know? And the hardcore gamers know what these mean. They'll tell you all these little differences between what they feel and what they don't feel, all these kind of things. But at the end of the day, I'm coming from a space of an old school gamer. If you're just getting into gaming, where you just say, I want to put that controller in my hand, I want it to feel good, I don't care about all these specs, does it feel good in my hand? Can I play the games I want to play with the accuracy and the control I want to do? So that's kind of where we're coming in from our review. I did that already for the Nova too, but we're going to get back into that here and review both of them. So just to give a little heads up, the test we're going to do is on the tablet. I'm going to do here in front of you guys, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, just as a way to really test the D-pad. And then afterwards, we are going to go into another room and I am going to connect onto my Steam, my mini PC, gaming PC that I reviewed on the channel. And I'm going to play Left 4 Dead 2, which is a game from my Xbox 360 days that I wanted to get into. And that would just kind of really test the 3D aspect versus the 2D aspect, giving us a kind of full, you know, spectrum of, you know, what these controllers feel like. So without further ado, I'm sorry for that, guys, taking so much time. First thing we're going to do is get into this one, because even though we already did it, we're jumping into it again. So first things first, and we're going to try to breeze through this as quick as possible. So we've got, I'm going to read it from outside of the screen. So if it doesn't come into the screen, I'm sorry if I'm moving around. Hall effect sensor sticks, anti-drift and ultra longevity, just means they should last longer than the old school joysticks. Durable membrane buttons. We've got Hall effect triggers on the back with adjustable travel, which allows you to pretty much like flick a switch and then they don't go all the way down, they go partial down. You got, let's see, mechanical D-pad, it says, with crisp pressing and comfort rebound. I'm going to get into that in a few because I really don't like it on this control. The motors, it says asymmetrical motors, real sensation, but your, I forget the term I called it, not dual shock, that's PlayStation's thing, but rumble or whatever you want to call it, like, yeah, is built into the handles, I guess you would say, of the controller. And it says 2 macro back buttons and anti-slip laser texture grips. And this is really just, it's actually not, it's got texture, but it's not rubber. And the truth is I prefer that, but this one is supposed to have rubber on it. But matter of fact, let me go through the box of the other one first before I get into that. So that way I can just start jumping straight into that. So let's get into the box of this one. It says here on the cover, did I show you guys the cover on this one very well? I hope I did, but let's just take a quick look at that right there. You could pause that and read that for yourself over there. Just says try connection and some of the other things I already mentioned on the back. I like the colorway on this, and I think I'm gonna like the colorway on this one too, so we'll see. But there goes the name, as said before, EasySMX. Now, one thing that also drew me to this company, and I mentioned this in the review of the Nova, as far as where I was kind of giving somewhat of a comparison to from my latest experience that I've recently had, as far as things that are modern, was the EasySMX. This is the M05. So you could almost say that this is the phone version of that to a degree, except the non-pro version, which this has a non-pro version too, and that non-pro version was rated really well. But my controller I just showed you there for the phone, I thought was very good, the way the buttons feel and this and that. So I trust this company based on that experience. Looking at some of the stuff on the box here. And it says whisper, text, silent buttons, trigger vibration feedback. Let's get into what it says on the back. Hall effect sticks, vibration RGB zone. So they also have lights on this, which I don't know if is a good thing or not, because also too, you don't want to drain the battery really quick. Whisper text silent buttons, re-engineered 8-way D-pad, trigger vibration feedback, 2 programmable buttons at the top rather than on the lower half. So that would just be a thing where it's up to someone's taste. But to be honest with you, coming from, like I said, old school Xbox 360 controllers, they never had those things and it didn't bother me. So dual stage triggers, which is the same thing. Like I said, you can flick a switch and make the trigger only go half depressed. That way it's better for certain games. And skin touch grip coating. So I think this one has a rubbery grip coating, which is good initially sometimes, but then can be a flaw down the line when could be a flaw down the line later on when, you know, say years down the line, it starts to wear. That's the one thing about just straight plastic with some maybe texture on it. That's good. So one thing that's going to be a huge plus on this control here is it comes with a case. So for the same price, this one's coming with a case, and that is a big plus. This one has a lot of things with the accessories. There are not a lot of them. They come with some of the basic stuff. The only thing that this one comes in addition that the other one doesn't have, or at least that I believe the other one doesn't have, but we're going to see in a moment, is a case. But there's more to that, to its accessories than just that, and I'll explain why. One, it is coming with a case. So that's one accessory that is a big thing. Two, the dongle is smaller. That to me is an enhancement on the accessory because it's easier to transport if you didn't have a case. But what makes it golden is that it has a case, it fits in the case. So now, unlike maybe some controllers that have a case and it doesn't fit the actual dongle, this does. So that in itself is golden right there in terms of the accessories. Here was the look of the control, as I just mentioned. And it looks nice, it feels nice. The only thing I don't like, you can hear the sound of the buttons. Let me put this near the mic. I don't know how much you guys can hear it because the mic is actually on me versus you guys seeing it. So I don't know if you guys can hear this. And now I just want to show you guys the depression on here. You see how far it goes, and then when I lock it in, so just to give you guys a sense of how that is, I really like everything about this controller except for this. I'll try to explain it as good as I did in the previous video. It feels it doesn't feel sturdy. And a good example of that is if I bring back in my game controller from EasySMX. You see how that is? It's like the old school, just a firm press. It's not like loose. It doesn't feel like the smallest press makes it activate. It feels like a firm press activates it, but it feels like it's significant. You understand, like you know through the sensation of your fingers that you're actually activating that motion. This right here feels like such a weak tap. Like it's not as significant, it's not satisfying. And that was the flaw that I had with this, and we'll see that in real time when it comes to the game, but I don't like it. Other than that, the rest of it is actually not bad. Now, getting into the accessories on here, the other accessory, which is the wire. I already told you it's not just enough that they came with the case and the dongle, but those things are slightly enhanced with the dongle being extra small and being able to fit into the case, and you have a case. The other thing that it has going for it, which to me is a really big deal, and that's why originally I purchased this controller, because if you're gonna do wired, and I always feel like in a pinch, it's good to have a good wire because you never know if your battery's dead or whatever things might occur. Maybe you just don't feel it. Maybe you're having trouble with the connection. Whatever might be the issue, having a wire is just always the answer. It's always the answer. So, sorry about that. So this wire here is roughly about 5.5 or 6 feet long. And that to me is significant because most controllers will just give you just a charging cable and not actually a playable cable. I'm just gonna run through this thing real quick, not that long because I did it before the very first time, and I'm not gonna do it again in that same heavy way, but I'm just gonna go over some really key points with you guys. You could pause it and maybe zoom in to kind of see really good. I'm just going to read it off real quick. So it might be, you know, not always focused on the camera. First, let me let you guys see those buttons there. So you understand, just pause that and read it for yourself for what buttons are what. So Bluetooth connection, it says press and hold the home key, the home button. That's the home button, and the B button until the home indicator light flashes rapidly in blue. Open the Bluetooth list on your device, find wireless controller and click to connect. Number 3, a solid home indicator light indicates that the connection is successful. And I will say that the first time I did this on my review, everything worked seamlessly. The later time I did it, things got a little bit funny. So in terms of like certain things working the way I wanted them to. I didn't do the Bluetooth on that video, but I later on did the Bluetooth. And I'm going to say, I'm not going to show the Bluetooth on here. Bluetooth pairs, I didn't have a problem pairing the Bluetooth, but the issue What I did later on have a problem with is pairing with the dongle. But with the thing with the Bluetooth, I can tell you right now, I used it on the 2D game, the same game I'm going to play, Shredder's Revenge, and it was bad. I think I was actually playing something else. No, I was playing Streets of Rage 4, and it was bad in terms of the speed for that. So I'm not even going to do that here. The receiver connection, that's the dongle. So the ones you see here are the main ones. It says Windows connection, but this is what you're using if you're using a PC. I'm not going to go over all the rest of them, but this is just what you're using for the PC. Let's see here. Let's say receiver connection. Press and hold the home button and the X button until the home indicator light flashes rapidly in green. 2, insert the receiver into the computer USB-A port and press the pairing button. Then wait for the connection to establish. A solid home indicator light indicates that the connection is successful. Now, the second time I did this off screen, when I did it on screen, it worked seamlessly. When I did it later on screen, I was having trouble. And then I looked up some stuff online and people are saying that sometimes they had to update the dongle, this and that. That shouldn't be the case because it worked for me the first time, but it might get a little bit funny, but this is where I say the wire connection comes into play. Right there, wire connection. Just to connect the controller to the computer via the Type-C cable, and that's it. So all the rest of them, you can pause for yourself to read that if you're using for a Switch, Android, any of these other ones. Android connection. Bluetooth. Okay, that's Bluetooth. You can't use the dongle for Android. You can only use a plugin. I've done the plugin before, which is what we're going to do here. So, like I said, pause that and read it for yourself for all the other connections, but the main one is just that first column there. If you're using it as a PC, Windows PC gaming controller. So, what we're going to do is lock that up for now. Push that off to the side, and now we're gonna jump into, like I said, this thing, I love that you got that long cable and whatnot. Now we're gonna get into this one's box. Now there's our first time unboxing this, you guys, so bear with me that I'm gonna take a little bit more time with this one. What do we got here? I apologize, you guys, for me having a little bit of a cough. Lights are on already. What is going on here? So the packaging feels equal, I guess. This kind of feels nice, but obviously having a case is even better, but it still feels nice. Now, I don't yet know how to turn this off, but what we're gonna first do is try to get this out of here. If I can, there we go. So there you go right there off the back too. The dongle is so much bigger and you don't have a carrying case. So it makes it a little bit worse. If it's smaller, that might be better because you could at least, it's smaller, but in this case it's not. So you have that. I hope that this thing wasn't on the whole time because not that, well, I mean, the first thing we're gonna do anyway is connect it with wire anyway. And so we're gonna see about that. Let's throw this back in the box for now. Okay, there we go. Now, first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get ready to run through the control, tell you how it feels in a second, but first I just wanna see this cable. Is this a playable cable? It's pretty long, but it's not as long. This looks to be roughly, I'll tell you right now, about 3 feet. A 3 feet cable is playable if you have your desktop set up like, you know, where you are at a desk and you've got your computer there with a monitor. The 3 foot cable is fine. I am fortunately or unfortunately playing on my TV. My TV, I have my computer, I have my gaming PC in the living room and on a TV. My intention was to always do it that way because the intention was to be very casual, like playing a video game system. And so 3 feet is not enough. I've used this 5.5, 6 feet long one, and this is enough for me. It's fine. It's you know, you're not going to be a mile away from the TV, but it's good enough that you could sit far away back and it feels good. Now let's check out the control, how it feels. Let me see something here. You know, what's funny is I heard people say that this feels nice in the hands, but it's pretty light. And when I would hear them compared to other things, sometimes they would say it felt kind of cheap, but when I feel it in my hands, like, this feels nice, it feels good. Like, I don't, not that it's cheap quality, but it's light, so it's gonna have that feeling like, not that the material's bad, but whatever. Putting this in your hand, you understand this has some weight to it, so it does feel more substantial. I like the button presses. This feels better to me than this, but it doesn't feel as good as I thought it was gonna feel. It feels good, but it's not as good. This right here, just to bring back into reference, feels better. It does. But this may not be bad. Let's see how it performs when we actually give it a go. You got the joysticks here, and they feel nice. I do think they feel a little bit more, slightly more stiffer on this, but not by much. Yeah, I got these buttons here. I don't know how much someone might accidentally bump into these buttons here. So that could be a thing where someone doesn't like, but like I said, I'm buying this from just a traditional standpoint. So I don't even care about the extra buttons, and I probably won't even be mapping them for anything because I'm just doing casual fun gaming. I'm not trying to do this high competitive level kind of stuff. And I think that's important for people to understand too. If you're not going into that space where you're like, I'm this high competitive kind of person, you just want a basic control, you shouldn't be looking at anything outside of these. And sometimes it gets tempting. I got tempted myself to want to buy a control that's $50 or $80, but I'm like, what's the point? There's no point. The only reason why I was considering that with some controllers were that some of the other controllers, even from Gamesir, have like a microphone port. But I put in my Bluetooth headphones and it worked all the same. So it was like, there's no point for me spending more money on that. Let me just go through the user manual really quickly. I just want to find, let's see if we could find the English one in here. All right, I didn't want to spend too much time going through it, so I paused for a quick second. It says, so here we go. There's multiple multi-mode gaming controllers supporting 2.4 gigahertz Bluetooth and wire connection. Is compatible with PC, Switch, blah, blah, blah. So here's all the buttons. You can see them right there. You've got your menu button / start button, home button at the top, and the view button / back button, and the it says OM turbo capture. I'm not sure. I heard people say before like screenshot button before. Not really too sure. And then you have like this. Is that a menu button? It's saying that these two buttons here are the same thing to a degree. I'm not really too sure. It says O and M and it says turbo capture. So I'm not really too sure. I would assume that the M was just menu, but we'll see. And obviously you have the back buttons here, triggers and all of that. One thing I will say with this too is that this one, the X Pro has like a switch that you choose the connection. I do like that a lot. At first I didn't think that was a big deal, but after the whole connection ways and these button combinations you do with the Gamesir, I would prefer just them have a switch that connects it the way you want it to connect. So let's just read off this really quickly for the pairing. Connected to the PC. So we have the dongle receiver connection. It says insert the receiver into the USB port on your PC. Slide the mode trigger to the dongle mode. Press the home button to power on. The controller's LED will flash indicating pairing when the LED becomes steady with a short vibration to confirm pairing. Steady. Okay, and then forced pairing, I don't know what that means. If auto reconnect fails, okay. Insert the wireless receiver into the USB port of your PC. Press and hold the receiver's button for 1 second until the LED flashes rapidly. With the controller powered off, press and hold the home button for 5 seconds. The LED will flash rapidly, then become steady with a short vibration to confirm pairing. And then wired, so so apparently I'm thinking that the Bluetooth, because it's saying down here connection to mobile, I'm going to guess that Bluetooth is just for the mobile. And then you have the dongle and the wired for PC. Wired connection, slide the mode toggle, blah, blah. So it's going to be obvious. And then just plug it in. So for this, what we're going to do is we are going to, was there anything else? And these are for program buttons. I'm not going to get into all that, you guys, or the RGB lights. What we're going to do is I'm going to use this one version here for us playing on the tablet right now, because I don't want to go back and forth, and that one gives us a little more length. But just taking a look at the dongle real quick, this is that kind of button to kind of do the hard reset, because this one is going to be connected straight through using this switch here. I don't think that when you're doing the straight plug-in, it doesn't even require you to have it in any of those kind of modes. Wait, let's see. Wired, slide the mode toggle to the dongle. Okay, so you put it in the dongle mode when you are doing wired. So yeah, so the most part should stay in that position the entire time if you're using this for a PC. Okay, so we're all set up with the Gamesir, the Nova 2 Lite. And it took a moment when I plugged it in just to kind of activate, because the controller had to turn on, but it wasn't that long, negligible. My son already had the game on, so I'm just gonna continue off where he was playing. Let's see, can I press, okay, so I'm pressing the start button. I'm actually gonna return. Oh, okay, so I just want to switch out the characters, but what's interesting though is that while you would think that this is the start button, it's not. This counts as the start button over here. And this was like the button to skip the the tutorial. So a little different than what you might be used to normally. And as I had mentioned in my previous review of this controller, the D-pad, it's manageable, but I don't like the feel. I really don't like it. It's not, you can manage it, but you don't feel very reassured when you, you know, do like say a double tap. My son reset the game to start over, and it lost my saved data on it. Apparently across devices, it connects the same thing. But yeah, so I just wanted to make note, like I said, that's the one thing when it comes to this, the buttons feel nice. The buttons are not a problem at all. That's not where we run into an issue. The issue is just the D-pad. It doesn't feel good. There's really no confidence in this. Right there, I tried to do a double tap and it didn't come out. And right there, I tried to do it again. And I don't know if it's that I tried to do it too soon, but it really just didn't feel like it was gonna come out, because it didn't come out, and I think it should have. So that's the main thing, you guys. The D-pad does not feel good to me. It's manageable, but it's not gonna feel comfortable. That's what I could say. It's definitely worse than old school that you might be used to. And it's, you might be able to get used to it over time if it's the only controller you have. I would say that if you're on a budget and you like all the things that this comes with, it's still worth the purchase. If you're not like, you know, the ultimate hardcore, like you need it to be a certain way, you're just casual playing, I think you'll be fine. But another thing too is it definitely feels like you don't know if this is going to wear out. And that's a big deal too. It really does feel like it could wear out, and then eventually like you won't even be able to even like click the button anymore, like the D-pad. So that's something that it feels like. What I'm gonna do is just, and this thing, that's the one thing I want to know, to let you guys know too. This thing gets stuck in here really firm, which could be a good thing. So it doesn't accidentally come out, but we're gonna take this now and just plug in the X05, and you just got a little rumble when I did that. And so one thing I want to say, which is interesting here, is that's the start button on here. And on the Gamesir, like I said, it's that one. And that looks like the same symbol, but that didn't allow me to pause. Is that one that did. So this one definitely feels a little bit more heavier in the hands. You could feel the difference. Let's see how this D-pad feels. I was really thinking that the D-pad is going to feel substantially better. And let me try to get used to it and see. Trying to give you guys a sense of this, because the truth is I thought this D-pad was going to be really good, and it actually is not that great either, but in a different way. This feels a little too mushy, like when you press it. The other one feels like it's too light and you don't know if you pressed it hard enough or you got, you know, that satisfying feel that you actually clicked it. This one feels mushy, and it almost feels like when you do double press, I want to use the right words. It feels like you know you double pressed, but did it register? And that's a difference between the other one so light that you're like, I want to say the difference between the two, because I don't want to tell you that they feel the same and use the same description, because they don't feel the same description. This one feels like you press it and you almost feel like it may not register, but almost because it's too mushy. Like you press down and it's like it's sticky. You don't know. I'm not liking this D-pad either. So already I can tell you right now, these both falling into the same category, but different. The only thing I will say, and that's really, I'm focusing a lot on the whole double tapping, not just regular movement. Regular movement, this one feels better to me. Just regular moving around, this one feels better. But double tapping is the area where I feel like it's really pushing it to its limit, because you want to know when you do that. And even though I don't have a fighting game on hand, understand that double tapping is something more akin to like something you would do in Street Fighter or something like that. You get what I'm saying? Like a fighting game where you're moving the control around really well. And you want to know that it's getting those registers. This D-pad feels okay for regular movement. The double tap feels different. Where the other one feels too light, this one feels too heavy and mushy. And so they're almost opposite, but opposite extremes that are giving the same result at the end of the day, which is it's not a nice press. They're just opposite in the way they do it, but they give you the same experience at the end of the day. So, yes. So not to run this around too much, you guys, I'm just playing around with the feel of it right now. I wish I had a fighting game on hand, but I don't. And I don't, gosh, guys, like I really thought this was going to be different. And it's fine for a person to make it work. You can make it work, but I don't think it's any better than the other one, to be honest with you. I don't think it's any better than the Nova. So in that area, both of them's D-pad, in my honest opinion, are not good. I don't like it. So we're going to stop there. We're going to jump to the 3D games. And I think in that area, both of them are going to feel pretty good. So let's jump into that. Okay, you guys. So now we're back in the PC setup. And what I'm going to do first is this. So I'm going to connect the Nova to Lite first, and I'm going to try to do it the best way I can on first try, because it my experience before was that this didn't go necessarily streamlined the second time around. So what you do is this. The home button and the X button is what we're gonna press, and then it should start glowing. But it's supposed to be a rapid, is what they said, pulsating or kind of, kind of glowing. And that's honestly not what we're getting. Okay, so I connected the dongle, and what I just did was I gotta press the little switch on it. And it's not working. And I kind of figured something like this might happen, but I wanted to do this real time with you guys so you still see it flashing. It's supposed to be a solid color right now, and it's not doing that. But the way it works is after you press that, it's supposed to just tap the receiver on the dongle, the button on the dongle, and then it's supposed to just connect. Now, I did that before. The very first time I did it, and it connected without a problem. Let's try this one more time. You guys, let's see. It's still in that blinking mode. It registers that it's in there. That's why you heard the sound. And I'm getting nothing. Okay, so we took it to the book, and what it tells us here in the instructions is if the connection is unsuccessful, press it's the middle circle button underneath the home button. So that button right there, underneath the home button, plus the home button on the controller, press the pairing button on the receiver to re-enter pairing mode. Press and hold. So it says press and hold these. Okay, now when I did that light, the green light was flashing fast. So I can say now, and then right away it paired on its own. I didn't have to press the dongle. So pressing those two buttons, this one right here, and that one right there, the home button, I know it's not focusing. The home button, and then this one right here, that one is called the screenshot button, but it's like a circle, little circle on it. That one right there and that one at the same time. So maybe that's the best way to just pair it, go straight into that mode to reset it rather than doing the initial instructions, because when you do it and you saw the green light was blinking slow, when I did that, the green light was blinking fast. Before I could even bring it to the camera, it automatically paired. And that's where you heard that sound that just took place. So we should be paired. Let me just turn on my mouse. We're gonna come over to here and see if we are. And yep, so I've just pressed I'm pressing buttons on the controller now. It's working. Let me turn the volume down a little bit. Now, we're gonna jump into quick match. And this is just, like I said, to show you guys how it feels. Now, I've tested this one before, but just to let you guys know, I don't have a problem with it. Okay. All right, you guys. Also, too, I want to say, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier in the video, but I'm not one of those people who's familiar with making this sync to your screen to whatever the case is. So you're seeing it straight or how it is on my TV. So I'm sorry, you guys, that I'm not skilled at doing that, but I just really more so just want to make sure you guys get to see this review. So the controlling here feels decent with this. The joysticks are fine. I have no problem with them. Now, also I will say, coming from a, what do you call it? Coming from Xbox 360, these definitely feel a lot more like a looser feel to them. And I think that's just really preference. It's not like a thing of like, to say these are bad or anything like that. But at the same time, what I will say is, that, yeah, it's definitely just a feel you got to get used to, because coming from a console, one thing to also understand with a console is that there's almost like an auto aim is what I've heard before, coming from a console versus PCs, which PCs don't have that. So it is a little bit different in that regard. And I do think that you notice that a little bit. I'm not going to knock the controller on that, because I think that's more of a, you know, the system situation. It has nothing to do with the controller. And in fact, there was a moment in time, I don't know how to get back to that menu, where it had said, when I first turned on the setup, do you want auto aim or aim assist or something like that? And I said no. Didn't think it would be that bad. And it's not that bad, but it's definitely not the same as being used to that. Oh, there is a tank, and I couldn't hear the sound, so I didn't even know. But it feels nice, you guys. I don't have any problem with it. It feels no different than when I was playing with the Xbox back in the days, other than the fact that the looseness of it. And I'm sure you could adjust those kind of things with how the sensitivity of it or whatever. These things are all adjustable, so I'm not gonna knock the joystick in that regard. Yes. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna leave this here, and now we're gonna plug in the other controller. So what I will do is remove the dongle. We're gonna do this real time. So I just want you guys to make note of that for the future when it comes to the Gamesir one. If you have trouble like linking it up, remember that part that I showed you guys inside the book. If you ever lose your instructions, just go back to when I went through the book before in that section and read it where it says like to the reset. The instructions are right there. That's one thing that's great about doing reviews, and we go over the instructions. If you don't have your instruction booklet on you at a given time, you could just go back and then you could do that. I'm gonna do the dongle now for that was you guys seeing how it played with the dongle. I don't think I'm gonna do the wired, because wired is gonna be instant. These dongles are supposed to be 1000 hertz. It was instant. I didn't have a problem. I'm not gonna do the wired because it will only be more instant. So you're already gonna know what that is. So I don't think there's a point in that. So now we have the X05. I just pressed the on button to turn it on, and the light is blinking. I'm not gonna go through the instructions on this one to the same level, because it has a mode button a switch that I showed you in the beginning. So I shouldn't even have to do anything other than just plug it in. And in theory, it should work. My USB port for my mini computer is a little funny. All right, so I just plugged it in. We don't have anything yet. I'm gonna press the button on the dongle. It's flashing fast on the dongle. I thought you just put it into the mode and that's it, and it's supposed to automatically sync up, but I'm not getting that right now. So maybe it's not it, maybe it's just me having to read the instructions. Let me just grab the booklet one more time. All right, you guys, so after reading the instructions, we're gonna do a forced pairing because the regular pairing is not happening. So what we're gonna do is, it says, insert the wireless receiver into the USB port. This is for the forced pairing because the auto pairing didn't work. Into the USB port of your PC, press and hold the receiver button for 1 second until its LED flashes rapidly, because right now it's flashing rapidly. With the controller powered off. So I'm gonna first try to turn the controller off. Press and hold the home button for 5 seconds to power on. The LED will flash rapidly, then become steady with a short vibration to confirm. So what I'm gonna do is this. Even though the dongle is already flashing, I'm gonna take it out. I'm gonna put it in. Now it's not blinking rapidly, it's blinking slow. I'm going to hold it for 1 second, and now it's blinking rapidly. So I just wanted to do that kind of full reset. Now I'm gonna hold down the button, the power button on here for 5 seconds. And that should be where it's gonna sink in because it's going rapid. I assume, because I wasn't doing that before. Power press home button for 5 seconds. The LED will flash rapidly, then become steady with a short vibration to confirm pairing. Okay, it just vibrated in my hand. And you see that steady light? So now we did it. So it feels like at least there's a workaround to these issues, and it's working. And that workaround is doing the hard reset, and then it works. So that is what we did, and it worked. So now let's jump in here and see how this is working. Now, like I said, the other control is fine, the Nova, and I honestly feel if you're just looking for one controller, where am I at? This is some new stage I've never seen before, actually. Or is this that house where you do the last stand? I think so, maybe. But so far this one feels fine. It feels instant as well. It doesn't feel like it's not instant. I feel bad practicing this while I am with this group because they're probably like, hey, like we're playing a real game. But anyway, it feels fine. I have no problems with it. The joysticks feel just as good as the other one does, so no issue with that. I honestly will say that when it comes to games like this, the triggers feel fine. Everything feels the equivalent. So it's definitely, it's not bad. I do feel these joysticks feel a little bit more stiff, a little bit than the Gamesir. I do feel that way. Not enough that it's going to make a difference, to be honest with you, in terms of the overall gameplay, but it definitely enough that you're going to, like, if you go from one to the other, you're going to feel that and go, okay, like, you know, let me get out of here before I ruin their game. It feels fine. I enjoy it. Now, the grip on the back, I just realized this as I'm feeling it in the hand. It's not a heavy rubbery grip. It is textured, but it's not a heavy rubbery grip. I didn't go over that and when we were at the table. So we're gonna pause the video. We're gonna go back to our original setup, and then I'm just gonna kind of go over the things with both controllers. Okay, guys. So we are back, and one thing I want to really quickly do before I give my kind of final conclusion on the whole matter is this right here. They look the same from the back end of the control, but this is just hard plastic, textured hard plastic, and I'm a fan of that for the purpose of that, you know, 10 years down the line, that's not going to change. I know because my Xbox 360 controllers are like that. There is no rubber, and they still are fine many years later. This, it almost feels like just a light level of rubber, not heavy. Like, it almost doesn't feel like rubber. Like, it feels smooth, like a softer material than just a plastic, but you could see it. It doesn't look like it's this kind of thick layered rubber. Like, I don't know if it's just a thin layer that will come off, or does it just have that feel, but it's not really rubber. I don't know. It's very hard to say, because it almost feels like to a level like it won't disintegrate over time, because it's not really like heavy rubber like some, you know, type of controls might have. But at the same time too, you know, that's it. You don't really know. As far as like a benefit goes, because this is textured, it's not that much of a benefit. So I would say if this doesn't wear off, the positive of it is very minute. If it does wear off, that's gonna be annoying. So I don't know. So I just wanna point that out. I'm not saying that it's gonna make a difference, but I just wanna point that out. Like I said, as far as the joysticks go, now I only own this one for like about 2 days longer than this one. So it's not even a thing where I really like played with it all that much. These ones, sticks feel a lot more just looser in general. Not loose like bad, but just like not as stiff. Not like in a bad way, like, oh, it's broke or it's been worn out. It's just like they started like that. These ones feel a little bit more stiffer. And so this might give you a more sense of like a gradual movement, maybe, versus these. If you have heavy thumbs, for the most part, I don't feel like they're any less in terms of quality when it comes to them. These buttons here are not as conventional as these ones are, in the sense like that's your start button right away. That's where you would go for your start button normally, both instinct, and it is. I don't think those are a big deal for people. The one thing I don't think I did was show how the trigger button is on this, the halfway press. So I don't think I showed that to you guys. So there you go with that. I think the feel of the controller in terms of quality, like if you have both in your hands, this feels like a more premium quality just because it's a little bit more weighted. The sticks, like I said, are a little bit more stiffer by a little bit. So when you start adding all these things up, you got the RGB lights. Not that it's a big deal to me. It does make it feel like it's a little bit more premium overall. Not that this feels like it's not a nice controller, but it's just when you have it in your hand compared to that one, because it weighs a little more, understand this is gonna have that feel. Now, if you are on that level where you want programmable buttons, you're gonna have to decide whether this means more to you than having these up top here. As far as the D-pad was really the Achilles heel for both of these, and I thought that the X05 Pro was gonna be better. And that was kind of one of the selling points that made me go, yeah, I don't mind getting it. The main reason why is I was gonna be fine with just a single controller for myself, and I was gonna just say to myself, I'll deal with doing this, just having this one. But then I said to myself, I wanna have 2 controllers, because if I want someone else to play or my kids to play, and right now they're playing on the Xbox, they don't mind playing on the Xbox. But if they transition, I have enough games that they wanna play on the on my Steam for the PC and play through Steam, I want to have a second controller. No problem with that. That's what made me go, well, I'm gonna might as well get a second controller anyway. But I thought this D-pad was gonna be substantially better, and it's not. It's different in the opposite direction. This, you could hear that sound. It's very light press. This one is, you can't hear it at all, but it's very like mushy. It's really hard to say now which one is better than the other, because I really can't tell you. I think that they actually are, I think I am gonna conclude that they're both equal, but different. Equally not so good, and different not so good in a different way. But they're definitely not like, just to give you guys context, an Xbox 360 control, for anyone who has ever used those and came from those, and I don't know if the newer Xbox controllers are the same feel as the Xbox 360 controllers, but the D-pads on those to me are far better than the D-pads on both of these. Even the EasySMX, my M05 controller for portable, mobile, or phones, whatever you want to call it, feels wonderful. These don't feel that way. They're usable. They don't feel that way. Do I think that means I wouldn't recommend these? Completely not. I definitely still recommend them. I'm going to tell you why. For the price, even at $30, that's just a minor thing. You can get used to it. You can push your way through that. It's not going to stop you from playing like you saw me on the 2D game of Turtles. It's not going to stop you from being able to play. So for the price, it's worth it. I don't say if you're a casual gamer, you're not some hardcore gamer, I wouldn't recommend you go and spend double the money just for the purpose of saying, I got an amazing D-pad versus an okay D-pad that's just okay. You know, if you're just casual gaming. Now, if you're some guy who's or girl, whatever, if you're just a gamer who is like, I'm gonna be online with my D-pad in fighting tournaments. I'm playing online in Street Fighter versus a bunch of other people online. I need bragging rights. You know, I'm fighting whatever the other current fighting games are that are out there, and I'm playing constant fighting games, and I gotta be number one. I'm in tournaments online and whatever. By all means, don't get these. If that means a lot to you, do not get these. If you're primarily playing 3D games, by all means, get these. Now, as far as distinguishing between one or the other, I'm really going to say that here's my thoughts when it comes to that, because I know you guys want to know which one is which in terms of like if you guys have to go. And I'm sorry that the video is long in the tooth at this point, but I really like to project my feelings on what I'm thinking. And yeah, I just noticed that. Let me just have you guys take a look at that, how that looks different. The texture, and this is more of a simplified texture type here. No big deal, but just want to point that out. This one feels, like I said, the X05 Pro feels a little bit more substantial in the hand. When you put them next to each other, you do notice a little bit that difference because it's right next to you. If you played with this one and then a day later you played with this one, you're not gonna notice. But if you go from this one in your hand in that very moment, and then you go from this one in your hand that very moment, this one is lighter, and the joysticks have a slight feel difference of the stiffness, but not enough to make a difference. The buttons, they all feel good to me. They are a little bit different. This one is a little more like that tappy, you feel that sound. And this one's more silent. And they talk about that in it, that it has silent buttons. And it comes with RGB lights. So really to distinguish that difference and conclude, I just want to throw that out there first of those little differences. And here's what I'll say. If you are both, neither one is bad. They both have good features. Putting aside the differences of where the button layout is, because that's going to just determine you automatically. But all the things that they have in common, I will say this. And if you just want one controller, and that's going to be it. Though you can't go wrong with either one. After having them both in hand, my thought is, just for the price and what comes in the package, the accessories to me bring the Gamesir a little bit over the edge. After playing a little bit more with their D-pads, I feel like you can get used to either one. I normally, at first, in my first review, I really didn't like this D-pad. And I'm not saying it's any better. I think if I had to choose between the two, I prefer this one's D-pad a little bit over this one. Because I think this one's attempt to be very silent makes it a little more squishy, and this one, you know that you clicked it per se because you hear that click. It's just such a light tap that I will want it to have a little bit more resistance while still having that nice click. So with that being said, I do think this one's D-pad, I'd prefer it a little more. I'm not gonna say it's better, but I'd probably prefer it a little more. I overall will probably choose the Gamesir, not because it's better than the X5 Pro. Mainly because the accessories to me make a difference if this is your only controller. I like the fact that you have the case, which is a nice case. It's gonna stop it from getting damaged. You can take it with you. If you have a full charge on it and you're going to a friend's house, this is all you need. It's got the dongle in it. It's got the controllers gonna be in the case, and that's all you need. You could throw it in your backpack, roughly. It doesn't matter if it gets banged around, the case is gonna protect it. The wire that comes with it is 6 feet. You are gonna be able to plug in, even if you don't wanna do the dongle. Yes, you'll have to carry this separately, but because it's not gonna fit in the case, but nonetheless, you just throw it in your bag and you're good to go. And it's, you know, say if you get to where you're going, you're like, I don't wanna do wireless. Maybe I didn't charge my controller. That's a gameable wire. This doesn't have a gameable wire. It doesn't have a case, and the dongle is larger. I'm not saying it's a big deal, but it's larger. So if it was smaller, it makes it a little bit easier to carry, but it's the same size as a USB drive, which is fine. You're gonna be putting this in like your fifth pocket, maybe. You're gonna, wherever you're gonna throw it around at least it has a cover on it, which the other one doesn't, but the other one has a case. So I know it's a small nitpick, but those little accessories, when you're at this budget, to me, make a difference in terms of your play experience, because you're on a budget, you don't want to spend more money for it. I feel like you're able to more grab and go with this one if you're going to be more roaming around. Now, if you're home already, yes, you could just charge this whenever you need to charge it. But once again, if you happen not to charge it, you now have a 3-foot cord. You're gonna have to wait to charge it, you know, unless you're gonna buy a cord separately. And a cord I could easily see being like $5. And at these things being within that price range of $27 or $30 when they're not on sale, extra $5, you know what I mean? Really, not only does it make a difference, but it starts almost bringing you into the $40 territory of controllers. And I've seen some of those too, which now offer slightly different specs versus the $50 versus the $60. So like every $10, there's a different level of controller going on. You know what I mean? So you don't want to have to buy anything extra with it. That's the only reason why, in my opinion, I would prefer the Nova 2 over the 5 Pro. But you can't go wrong with either one. At the end of the day, I think they're both great. I think that you're not gonna have a problem. If you like the feel of this one better, go with this one. You aren't losing anything out of it. If you end up preferring that this one's a little more heavier, feeling a little bit more substantial. Matter of fact, what I'm gonna do is this. I am going to grab my Xbox 360 control really quickly, and I am going to see how that feels in comparison, just the weight. I'm gonna take the cord off because I have one of my old ones that are wireless, and I'm going to take the cord off, and I just want to see how that feels in terms of weight, so I could tell you guys how this weighs. I used to love these controllers. I still do. So this, the weight that first off, the resistance of the joysticks on this are more in line with this one. Even though this is still more stiffer, the Xbox is still more stiffer, but it's closer in line with this one than it is on these. So I hope that helps you guys when it comes to that. The buttons on the Xbox 360 controller are probably more closer to the Nova because this has that silent touch and it feels a little more, they do feel a little bit more nicer overall, but I feel like you don't really notice it in terms of gaming. They're a slight better feel, but not by much. Not enough that it makes a difference to me at all. Now the weight. The X5 Pro feels a little bit more closer in weight-wise to the Xbox 360. They're really like identical to each other, and this feels lighter. So if you've ever had one of these, this is the same weight that this feels like. This might be a little bit more, but they roughly feel about the same, where this is lighter. So I hope that really helps you guys in this review. Like I said, if it was up to me, I'm gonna keep both now because I have it already. I don't like returning things, and I do feel like it's good to have two controllers because if I want, you know, I found out that some of these games do have split screen, like the on Steam, the Left 4 Dead 2 has split screen. But with that being said, I originally bought this. I could have now done without having this if that was the case. But I could have gone the other way too. If I had this one first, I wouldn't need to buy this one. But I think between the two of them, I prefer the Gamesir for the accessories. They make a difference to me. The controller itself doesn't make a difference to me in terms of gameplay, the way they feel. It's minute. But the accessories to me, I think make a huge difference, because if I'm playing on, say, your phone, right? You're not gonna necessarily always want to use Bluetooth, because the Bluetooth was trash when I used on this one. Even though I didn't get to connect on Bluetooth here, I'll do that on my phone, and I may give you an update, you guys, in just the comments. But I know that when I did it on this one for 2D gaming, it was just bad. It's just not at that level. I don't know if the Bluetooth is gonna be the same on this one, so I'm not gonna comment on that. But just in general, having the option to be wired makes a difference. So I will try to add that into the comments at a later point in time. But as far as like having the option to just go wired whenever you want, I think is nice. And this one has the wire. Now granted, if you were using your phone, the 3-foot cable is not a big deal. I just like that 6-foot cable coming with it along with the case. So anyway, you guys, I hope this review helped. I'm sorry that I rambled on a long time, but as always, you guys, like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. All right, you guys, I just wanted to add real quick at the end of the video just that I did end up testing both of these again on Bluetooth on my phone for 2 games, the Ninja Turtles, but also Streets of Rage, because I have that only on my phone, Streets of Rage 4. And I did not notice, what's interesting is, so the Bluetooth on the X5 Pro had no lag, no anything. It felt on point right away. I then decided to go back and retest the Nova 2, and I felt like there was no lag this time around, where last time there was noticeable lag. This time it didn't feel that way, and I don't know why, or at least not that I could notice. I tried to like really pinpoint, give it a shot to see if I noticed, and not only did I not notice, I actually then was able to get into the flow of the game. I then went to a different stage in Streets of Rage 4. I went to the harder level that I was playing before. I got stuck on. I actually passed the part that I couldn't pass when I was using my EasySMX mobile controller that I just showed you guys earlier, which is crazy. I just, so at that point I got so into the game, I didn't even realize any kind of issues using the D-pad. I got used to it. That's not me excusing the D-pad on the Nova 2, but it's just that I got into the game and I didn't notice it. So I do think that a person can get past that feeling once you get used to it. It's just getting used to it. But as far as the Bluetooth lag is what I'm really focusing on right now. I didn't feel it and I didn't notice it at this time around, but I did notice it that other time when I first tried it out off camera. I didn't notice it this time. The X5 Pro, I only used it this one time, but I gave it a substantial amount of playthrough. I even went on the Turtles game with it as well for the Bluetooth. I didn't notice any lag on either time. So as far as the Bluetooths go, the lag has seemed, like I said, it's 1 for 2 with the Nova. One time that it wasn't good, one time that it was. And then for the only one time I tested for the 5 Pro, it was good. 2 games in this one given moment. I did the 2 games in this given moment for the Nova and they were good. But the previous time I did the Streets of Rage 4, like maybe 2 days ago or a day ago or something like that, and it wasn't, it lagged. From what I was feeling, it was lagging. It felt substantial, like I noticed it. So I don't know, maybe it was just a glitch at the moment. Something was going wrong at the moment. I really don't know. I really can't speak on that. But this time around, they were good. So I take it with a grain of salt in terms of what that means as far as you guys getting that, like getting what you want out of it for Bluetooth. So I would say that it's playable on Bluetooth. It does have an instant feeling. I don't want to do the whole categorizing the level of latency because I'm not, somebody who is on that level as far as like, technical. But as far as gameplay and just getting into it and not noticing it, I've experienced not noticing it at all with both controls. So I feel that that is definitely something that is important to reference to you guys. I don't know if it's hit or miss. I don't know, what the deal is with that. But so that was my experience. I can't give you a positive or negative. Like, so you can take it with a grain of salt or not. I did experience playing both of them for at least a good like maybe 10 minutes on each one, as far as on the 2D fighting games, Bluetooth, and I didn't have a problem just now testing. I didn't have a problem with either one of them. And like I said, with the right away, there was no issue at all with the X05 Pro, so there wasn't even nothing to consider when I was playing it. And actually, just like I said before, and maybe depending on the game, where Streets of Rage 4 doesn't require, it does require the double tap motion for certain things, for that kind of special attack. But at the same time, it I didn't notice on the X5 Pro anything with the D-pad. Like I felt fine, and I didn't even notice where I was saying before that it felt mushy. I didn't feel that feeling when I was playing with it here. Maybe it's because of a different type of game. I don't know. I zoned out from it because it was working in the game. I was able to get through. You know, sometimes we get intense in a game and there's a lot of people on the stage to fight. You just get thrown into it, and it was a different feel. You know, obviously I wasn't recording the event, so I couldn't. It's on my phone, and I use my phone to record. But I just got into that zone, and I didn't even notice the previous things I was mentioning about the D-pad. Now, I'm not saying that takes that away, but I guess I'm saying is that you can get used to it, especially if you get into the zone. The Nova 2, very surprised that I really felt always like, okay, like this feels a certain way. You can get used to it, but it feels a certain way. But right when I got into the zone of it, like I said, I really was testing for the Bluetooth, but got into the zone of it, and I really just wasn't even thinking about the D-pad anymore, because I was fighting a stage that I was trying to beat for the last couple of days. I couldn't beat it, and I beat it with this controller, which I would have never thought in my head. Now, granted, I started learning new things, patterns to defeat these bosses, but nonetheless, the point was I was in the zone. I didn't have a problem. So I will then say this: the D-pads, you can get used to them. They made right out the box. It might be not a feel that you're used to, but you can get used to them. And once again, so I stand by the fact that don't let that be something that stops you from getting these controllers, especially if you're looking for a controller in a budget and you're not trying to be a hardcore gamer. But with that being said, I was just really focusing on the Bluetooth right now. I wanted to update you guys, and it looks like the Bluetooth can be fine on both of them. It's just a matter of making sure that, I don't know, things align up in that way. But I think maybe that was just a one-time experience with the Nova, because this time, like I said, I played it and it was no problem. So I want to just give you guys that input. I didn't want to leave it with you guys thinking that the Nova was really bad on Bluetooth and I didn't test the X5 Pro. They both have been tested now for the Bluetooth. They're both good. I had no problem with them. They're both good. Now, granted, too, I will say this. Me playing on my phone, I'm literally about a foot away from it. That might play a role. I'm only a foot away, so the connection, no interference. I'm in a spot right now where there wasn't a lot of electronics or anything going like that, because I'm currently inside my kitchen where I was playing. It's not like other kind of things going on. So I don't know if that played a factor, but I had no lag at all. Anyway, you guys, once again, as always, like, share, comment, subscribe. Links in the description down below for both of these. And I will catch you guys in the next video.